Na 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 na, wait till I get my money right. Na 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 na, then you can't tell me nothing, right? Want to give it a little bit of time, see if some people join. Doing this kind of impromptu, so I don't know if anybody is uh going to join. I don't know if anybody is privy, but I want to go over a lot of the stuff that's happening in terms of the Epstein files. In terms this entire debacle with the Epstein files and Donald Trump and everything that's going on there. I just want to talk about it a little bit because I keep making videos, video after video as new stuff comes out, and it's just too much. I don't want to like flood the I do care about what's going on, but I don't want to flood my entire channel with Epstein and Trump. So I just want to take some time, look at all of this different stuff and just address it, all at once. The stuff that's going on with Marjorie Taylor Greene as well. Like I said, during the shutdown, Marjorie Taylor Greene is kind of doing a pivot, and it's a much welcome pivot. I commented on this in another video how AOC was criticizing her, saying, "Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a grifter and she's doing this and you can't trust her." And I was saying in that video, it doesn't matter. It honestly doesn't matter if Marjorie Taylor Greene is grifting. If you have somebody that used to be an enemy that is now aligning with you, you can take advantage of that, right? So the fact that she was turning on Trump or turning on Mike Johnson because of the Affordable Care Act, because of the shutdown, I was saying take advantage of that. Use it to help push you guys' shared agenda. So I just want to talk about all of this different stuff that's been going on all at once. Get a nice, concise place to go through the tons of information that's been going out. And let me go over on Twitter. I'm gonna bring some stuff up on Twitter as well. If you're not following me on Twitter, nobody's following me on Twitter because I just created it, but it's One Who Knocks. It's NEWHOKNOCKZ, One Who Knocks. If you get that reference, the One Who Knocks, please let me know down in the comment section. I'm going to say what show it's from eventually. Oh, it's not listed. Let me change this. I did not realize that this stream was still not listed. Hold on. Make this public. All right, now we're cooking. We should be cooking with fire now. All right. So what I was just saying for the people that missed it, which is everybody, because I just made this public. I'm gonna be pulling up some stuff on Twitter as well, and my Twitter is One Who Knocks. It's NEWHOKNOCKZ, One Who Knocks. And if you get the reference, you can drop it down in the comments. I'm going to tell you it's from a show, from one of the best shows to ever hit the airways. So I'm gonna be pulling some information from there. You guys can talk to me over there. I've been posting some of my thoughts about the stuff that's going on. And tonight, I really want to talk about all of this stuff that's going on with Trump because there's so much information coming out at such a rapid pace that you can't really keep up. And in order to stop making video after video specifically on Trump, right? Because there's other things going on, even though he is the most interesting thing happening in the news. I just want to go through most of the stuff that we're seeing online, right? And in one concise place. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Trump, he's losing his base, right? He's losing MAGA. He's losing the America First movement. And he's kind of spiraling out of control. He's spiraling out of control because people aren't liking him, but people aren't liking him because of the fumble after fumble after fumble that he makes. Whether it be the terrorists, whether it be the shutdown, whether it be this 50-year mortgage thing, whether it be this new Epstein information that came out, Trump is just taking L after L. And while it's going to make some people happy, he is still the president of the United States. And he's going to be the president for the next 3 years God willing, right? Unless something happens to him, unless he gets kicked out of office, whatever that may be, right? He's going to be the president. So while it's fun to poke fun at Donald Trump and laugh at him like, look at this idiot. He makes a lot of gaffes, but he's still our president. So you could like him, you could not like him. He is the guy in the chair. The things that he does are going to have rippling effects on all of our lives. So as much as I want him to do well in my own self-interest and the self-interest of my family and my neighbors, he's continuing to do stupid shit. He's continuing to fuck up. And it's starting to catch up to him, right? These people that came out to vote for him, even back in 2016, I believe it was, the people that came back out to vote for him in 2016, he's lost a lot of that support, right? Or he lost some of that support, including people like Nick Fuentes. And then he gained that support back by 2024 with some people. And he's kind of losing a lot of people in that base that he worked so hard to garner in such a quick amount of time. I keep seeing where everybody that's not like specifically Trump aligned is saying, oh, well, Trump is losing his base, right? Or Trump is having such negative approval ratings. I was watching TYT today and they were saying, was it TYT? I can't remember. I was watching some news thing and they were saying that his approval rating is like 37%. And then when you see him or you see people that are like in his camp, they say, oh, he has an approval rating of like 80%, which obviously he doesn't, right? Like, I don't think anybody believes the majority of America is agreeing with what Trump is doing. So we're going to go through quite a few things that have been happening over on Twitter. I saved some stuff on my personal Twitter, so I'm going to try to find it on I'm going to try to find it over there. But let's take a look at this thing, which I think I have a video coming out on this. I think I did a video on this, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Let's check this out. This is Thomas Massey being questioned on CNN about the impending vote that's going to happen next week regarding the Epstein files. So Thomas Massey, he said something that's actually, the video came out today. He said something super important. The people that vote no, your name is going to be on this permanent ledger where people are going to know that these files we're voting to have these files come out, and you're saying, no, I would prefer them not to come out. Donald Trump, he's only going to be there for the next 3 years, right? He's got 3 years, 3 months, something like that. 3 years, 2 months. Once his time is up, you still have to have a career. If you're in your like 40s, 50s, 60s, you may still be in Congress and politics long after Donald Trump is gone. So are you really going to hitch your wagon to a horse, an injured horse? The guy, he's, I think, like 79, 80. He's losing a lot of his base, right? We just talked about like the 37% approval rating that he may have, according to some reporting, right? So are you really going to hitch your wagon to Donald Trump and just ride this thing into the ground? A lot of people would say that that's a losing bet, right? If you put it on DraftKings, or you put it on one of those other betting apps, they would say that's a losing bet, right? So let's check out this thing from Thomas Massey. I gotta bring my one of the things, for one, I really, really like Thomas Massey. I don't know everything about him, his record, his beliefs, but the things that I have seen about him in the public and, I've seen him in segments, right? I don't know everything about the guy, but the things that I do see, I really like them. I like this guy. I like the stuff he stands for. I like that he's principled. He's not going to just go along to get along. Like we said, we're kind of seeing that with Marjorie Taylor Greene, where she's like, actually, I think I want to stand on my principles and stand with the people in my district. instead of just doing what it is that you want me to do. And I respect it. I respect the hell out of it. I hope that more people realize that this is the way to go, right? It's standing with the people. At the end of the day, if you're in a position of leadership, if it's in your company, if it's, in politics, you're there to serve people. That is your job. Your job is to say, okay, I have the authority, I have the power to help advocate for you and make your lives or your experience better. It's not to serve your own self-interest. Like sometimes you guys' self-interest is going to align and you can push your agenda and push their agenda at the same time. But when I've been seeing Thomas Massey, he's saying, hey, this is the principal thing in this situation. And regardless of who tries to sway me left or right, I'm an immovable object. That's what I like, right? And Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's kind of moving towards that. She's been doing a lot of interviews and she's saying, hey, when I'm out here speaking, you guys may not like it. It may be against my party, but at the end of the day, I'm representing the people in my district. I'm a voice to them. So in this instance, Thomas Massey is absolutely right. Like, are you going to hitch your wagon to Trump and just say anything that he wants you to say or anything that is putting him in a good light? Or actually, are you going to actually be on the principled side of this situation? Because at the end of the day, nobody should be aligning with, covering for, making excuses for, or like shining the light in the opposite direction of what's happening with these Epstein files. It doesn't matter if Trump is in them. It doesn't matter if he's not in them, if we're being completely honest. The people that are in them need to be exposed. They need to be held accountable. The victims that stood up on Capitol Hill, right? I think it was like 12 women that came up here in maybe it was about July. Those women are representative of potentially dozens to hundreds of other women that all deserve justice for whatever happened to them, right? Whether it be a quote unquote small issue all the way up to being physically assaulted. All of them deserve justice. And Thomas Massey is saying, hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the leader of the party. It doesn't matter if the entire Republican party is against me. This is the principle. This is the immovable object. And I salute him. So everybody that votes no on releasing these files, their names need to be public. We need to know who those people are because apparently you don't have the moral authority to be leading in America. We don't want none of those people. All right, so let's check out. Let me see. All right, so let's check this out. It says CNN's Cassie Hunt. This was the same thing. This is somebody speaking on this. He just basically echoed the same thing that Thomas Massey has said. Like, your name is going to be out there, so we don't really need to go through this one. Let's see. I feel like I saved some other stuff in here, but I don't know what it is. And hopefully it's nothing crazy in here. This is Nick Fuentes talking about a literacy test. That's something completely different I was thinking of doing a video on. Okay, let's look at this. This is JD Vance talking about the immigration issue. So one of the things that Donald Trump has been like messing up on recently, or he did the interview with Laura Ingraham, and he was talking about a 50-year mortgage. So, we've talked about it. I put a video about it. You're probably aware of it. But a 50-year mortgage is a horrible idea. Nobody wants to rent a home from the bank for half a century. So JD Vance goes out and says, he's doing an interview, and he says the reason why housing is so bad is because it's 30 million Americans taking up the supply. I don't know what these people are. I'm sure that there is some impact of people coming here illegally, renting, doing whatever it is that they're doing, taking up some housing, right? But everything cannot just be pointed at, oh, it's these illegal immigrants. When are we going to say that we just have a bad system? Something is wrong in the system. Is there something wrong in the immigration system? Absolutely, right? Are we going to say that there's something wrong in the housing system and actually fix that? The same way that we ramped up all of this stuff with ICE and we started going after illegal criminals and then started, ended up going after citizens and people are getting arrested without any sort of due process. The same way we tackled this issue so vehemently in terms of immigration, when are we going to tackle this housing crisis vehemently like that? Because it seems to be that instead of placing the blame where it should be on people buying, hundreds of houses, single family homes, apartment buildings, and like, or condos, and then limiting the housing supply or us not expanding the zoning laws where people can build, instead of that being the issue, they just say, oh, it's the illegals. It's these people that, came here illegally. And while they need to be removed, right? They do need to be removed. If you came here illegally, you shouldn't be allowed to, you can't walk into somebody's house and be like, well, I'm just going to set up shop here, right? Unless you're a squatter, which squatters have rights. So those people do need to be removed, but we can't just blame everything on illegal immigrants. Oh, you would have a house, you would have opportunities, you would have a job, you would have an education, you would have this and that, and you would have some government assistance, but it's the illegals taking everything from you. What about the corporations that continue to profit at astronomical levels, right? They keep talking about how the stock market is going up. The stock market is fueled by companies. When are we going to say that there's actually something broken in our system that we need to address? Not just the illegal immigration problem. And then they come out with a solution. Oh, we'll just do a 50-year mortgage. Literally nobody wants that. There's not a single person or a single video that I've seen where somebody is championing a 50-year mortgage. And me, right? I'm a student of Dave Ramsey. I got hip to Dave Ramsey back in, I want to say 2017. So I'm a student, like all debt is bad debt, right? Whether it's housing debt, which, I'm in a house right now. The truth is it's bad debt. But he already advocates, if you're trying to be financially responsible, that you go for a 15-year mortgage. Dave Ramsey looks at a 30-year mortgage like, nah, that's not really feasible, right? You're going to pay so much more interest, and you're going to be in debt slavery for so long. And it's true, right? 30 years is a long time. It's reported that most people change where they live after about 7 years. So you're already not going to go the entire life of the loan, most likely, in a 30-year mortgage. So when they come out and they're pitching a 50-year mortgage, like, who is that supposed to appeal to? And you're only going to be saving a couple $100 if you are not aware, right? A couple $100 a month, but you're paying for the house 3 times over, basically. So I don't know who the Trump administration thought that they were appealing to when they're pushing these types of policies, but people literally don't want it. But this is just another example of the type of things that are coming out of the Trump administration right now that are just turning the MAGA base against him. They don't want this 50-year mortgage. They don't want the $2,000. Let me change this back. People don't want the 50-year mortgage. They don't want the $2,000 that he was talking about. Like, oh, we're going to give a $2,000 check to people and then offer the tariffs, right? They said they had all this tariff revenue. They're going to give a stimulus check of $2,000. How are you going to do that? This is literally being litigated in the Supreme Court if you raise the money legally in the first place, if you can keep the money in the second place, and then, like, if you're going to be able to continue the tariffs into the future. So how are you making promises to the American people? And all of this stems, honestly, it all comes back to the government shutdown and these Epstein files. Because when Trump gets in hot water, he starts throwing out money, basically. He's like, hey, don't pay attention to that. You guys want be able to afford houses? I'll help you afford houses. I'll put some money in your pocket. I know the government was shut down. Let's put some money in your pocket so you can get some gifts for your kids and some turkey for your Thanksgiving. The guy is really, like, his main goal is to throw people off of his track. So that's the thing with the housing. That wasn't really originally something that I wanted to talk about in this one, right? I really want to go through the Epstein stuff that's been coming out with the files and Marjorie Taylor Greene's response and a couple of other people's response. But this is part of the downward spiral that Donald Trump is going through. And he really can't catch himself. He really can't, because it's very difficult to persuade people to be invested in your ideas, right? Once they've made a commitment that they are no longer interested, it's very difficult to rein them back in. So Trump he came in, 2016, whether you liked him or not, he was a very polarizing figure. That means some people hated him, but some people were like, had a cult attachment to him. Understandably, he's charismatic, he's funny, like the dude does have a charm to him. You may not like his policies, but he does have a charm to him, especially like if you like his policies, you're going to be more inclined not only to agree with him, but to think, he's a charismatic person, right? He's been rich for a long time. He's a likable person. But as his second administration is going on, he's just losing that luster that he had. He's older now. He's 10 years older now. What I've heard or what I understand is he doesn't have the people that were checking him in his first administration there present in this administration to check him. So he's having unfiltered reign over exactly what it is that he wants to do, right? The MAGA movement is so big that for the past 10 months, he's been able to say, hey, I want this done. And people jump to do it. They don't say, you can't do that. They really say, like, how high do you want me to jump? Right. And now that he has this like unfiltered access, people are seeing that your ideas, while they sounded good, while you sounded good because you're a TV personality and you have this cult following, they don't actually pan out in the way that you thought. That's evident in this housing plan. That's evident in the stimulus checks. That's evident in the raising the H-1B visa fee to $100,000. That's evident in the Trump gold cards. Remember that? Trump came out saying, oh, we're going to give $1 million, or not give $1 million, but if you pay me $1 million, then you can be basically given a gold card instead of a green card and jump to the front of the line. Like, he's throwing out these ideas, and people that are aligned with them, they celebrate them, and then the ideas never come to fruition, or he throws them out there. People realize that they're dumb, and then they have to cope and pretend like it's a good idea in the first place, which is obviously not the case. So let's move on. I want to really go to Marjorie Taylor Greene's thing so we can see what's been going on over there. Okay, so that's funny. All right, so it says Trump rescinds endorsement of Marjorie Taylor Greene over Epstein files dispute. I believe she was trying to run for senator of Georgia. That's the state she represents in the House right now. And the story has it, right, that he didn't endorse her. He said that she was going to lose. She had like 12% in the polls. He said he wouldn't give her his endorsement. And that's why she's mad, right? That's why she's been speaking out against Trump and the Republican Party. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's a lie, right? It's not really relevant to me. At the end of the day, some of the stuff that she's been saying, I've agreed with, right? I agree that people should have affordable health care. And if you're telling me that the plan sucks and you're a lawmaker, but you haven't presented a better plan, then you probably should shut the fuck up, right? That's the stance that Marjorie Taylor Greene is taking. That's the stance I take. And the Epstein files, at the end of the day, regardless of if it's a Democrat, if it's a Republican, these people are child abusers. They literally have assaulted children, and there's been a whole network, not even just now, 20 years ago, to help cover this stuff up. But it's high time that somebody actually have some morals and integrity and release it, right? And Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, hey, if nobody else wants to stand up, I'll do it. I'll be that person, right? That's Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's Nancy Mace. That's Laura, I don't know the lady's name, Boebert, Thomas Massey. These people are saying the buck stops with me, right? Some people with principles and integrity and not just quote unquote toeing the party line. They're saying we're going to do the right thing, regardless of how it looks, regardless of if you like it. The right thing to do is to stand up for the victims and release this information to the American public. That's what they've been doing. But people are saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene, the reason she spiraled out of favor with Donald Trump in the first place was because he would not endorse her. So it says President Donald Trump withdrew his endorsement of Marjorie Taylor Greene on Friday after she criticized his agenda, particularly his opposition to releasing sealed Epstein files ahead of a House vote. Greene accused Trump of trying to block the documents, prompting him to label her a betrayer and pledge support for a 2026 primary challenger. Epstein survivors released a letter praising Greene's courage and offering full support for transparency, while local GOP leaders in her Georgia district reaffirmed their backing amid the rift dividing MAGA supporters. Let me go back to this first thing. It says, particularly his opposition to releasing the files, right? Virginia Giuffre, however you say her name, and I apologize to her, rest in peace to her, right? She already said that Trump is not an abuser, right? She said that she never had an untoward encounter with Trump. And that very well may be. Trump may not be somebody that was abusing the young ladies. But it's awfully suspicious when you stand in the gap between the files being released and the American public getting that information. It's just suspicious. It's just a bad look. Because just like they try to say like Antifa is a terrorist organization, and then you find out Antifa is anti-fascist, which I learned on my last live stream, somebody told me, right? It's like, I thought we were all anti-fascists. But okay, you guys are not aligned with that. When somebody says, I don't want to release these files, it's like, wait, I thought we were all against child abusers. And then they say, oh, well, we don't want to hurt some very good people. Let me tell you something. There is not a single very good person in a packet of files where you can identify people that abuse children. It's just not, right? Could there be some people that, like the Donald Trump emails, that are in the emails that are mentioned by Epstein that have no connection directly with the things that him and Ghislaine Maxwell were doing? Absolutely. There could be people that are associates of Epstein that had no idea, or they are clients of Epstein in some sort of other venture like money laundering or whatever he was into. Those people could exist. But this is why you give the evidence. This is why releasing the files is important, because it gives it context. When you start blocking the files for whatever reason, it looks like you are implicated in the criminal aspects. Now, to what extent or what context those criminal aspects are could be deciphered if you release the files. And this is why MAGA is having such a rift, because why do you want the files to remain hidden? That's a very suspicious thing to do, right? You were elected. The people in your administration said that the people that got accepted into your administration said that it was a priority for them to release the files. And then they get in there and they start talking about how there is nothing to be released. And it's like, wait a minute. You guys swore up and down that this was a quote unquote deep state conspiracy. Why is it now that you're there, all of a sudden you're having a sudden change of heart? It's two things. Either the person that you are looking out for is telling you we're not going to release it, or you've looked at it and there's literally nothing there. Now, the second case, the latter is honestly, it's not even plausible. There's obviously something there. Because if there was nothing there, why did they hide the missing minute from the video, right? Pam Bondi, during the press conference, she said, oh, well, the tapes get changed out every night, and that's why there was a missing minute in the video. Then they find out that it was 3 missing minutes in the video. And it's like, wait a minute. You said that the tapes get changed out, and that's why the tape has to be reversed, and that's why there's 60 seconds missing. Then we find out that there's 180 seconds missing. And then we find out that it's not even missing. So it's like, are you so incompetent at your now, right? We already had one fork in the road of things we had to go down. Are they hiding the files, or is there nothing in there? We know that there's nothing, right? So we're saying they're hiding the files. We go down the hiding the files road. Now you talk to us about the missing minute and all of this other stuff, and then we find out that's a lie. So are you hiding the stuff? Is this the road we're going down? Or Are you incompetent at your job? Well, you've had a career, a successful career before going into the Trump administration. So we're not going to say that you're incompetent and you don't know how to do your job. So let's go down again the road of you covering it up. And then as we continue going down this road, we're getting emails, we're getting statements like there could have been thousands of young women that were abused that came from Pam Bondi. As we go further and further down this road, you want us to be blind to what it is that you said previously, right? How we ended up as far as we've ended up. And that's the major issue with all of the stuff that's going on with Trump. That's why he's turning on Marjorie Taylor Greene, because he wants her to be blind to the fact that we've ended up down this road based on the evidence that we've had so far. And then you want us to just forget it. And we can't forget it. There's no going back. It says Greene accused Trump of trying to block the documents. So recently, I don't know if this is in here. This is very funny. They're trying to paint Marjorie Taylor Greene as a liberal woman because she's not aligned with, because she's not using the talking points anymore, right? Once again, shout out to her. When she was introduced to me, when she was on the scene, I knew her to be like a racist lady, right? That's the first encounter with her that I saw with her and Jasmine Crockett, right? When they were going back and forth, I was like, oh, that lady's racist. And I kind of wrote her off. And I don't know everything that she's about, but I do like where she's going. But this part where it says trying to block the documents, prompting him to label her a betrayer and pledge support to a 2026 primary challenger. This part is very interesting to me because we've already discussed that Pam Bondi said that there was nothing to see, right? Kash Patel said there was nothing to see. The dude, Dan Bongino, who has maybe the worst hairline I've ever seen, also said that there's nothing to see. So what is it that you are adamant about her not releasing? What is it that you're adamant about getting her support? Why are you so adamant about getting her support and not releasing the files? If you and everybody that you know have said that there's nothing to see, doesn't make much sense. Very suspicious, right? Okay, let's see. All right, so I'm not sure what this is. It says 27 survivors of Jeffrey Epstein release new letter directed at Marjorie Taylor Greene expressing their support for her as Donald Trump and those around him publicly attack her. All right, let's check this out. It says, Marjorie Taylor Greene, thank you for standing up against the intimidation, silencing, and abuse that Epstein survivors have endured for decades. When you speak the truth and refuse to bow to threats, you become a survivor by proxy, an ally who carries part of the fight with us. That courage matters. You have our full support. We stand united with you against any attempt to bully, rewrite history, or shut down accountability. We are not here to create more conflict or wars. We are here to end the cycle of abuse, expose the truth, and demand justice, no matter who it implicates. That should have been everybody's priority. There should not be a single person across the entire U.S. that is against the things that these victims are speaking on. It says, we're not here to create more conflict or wars. This abuse has already happened, right? All we're doing is giving up the names of the people who did it. And the fact that we have to fight so hard as the American public to expose this, it really tells about like the underlying structure of our society. That the elite, the powerful, the well-connected, something that we've already known is they get away with whatever the fuck they want to do. Like, this is not new. This is not new to the story of America. This is not new to the story of like powerful, elite, wealthy people. But we have this facade of our country of being upstanding, right? This is why we go and engage in other people's conflicts, because we say that we have the moral high ground and we're going to basically like tame the savages across the world and show them the American way. And then you come back and you look around and you're like, wait a minute, you guys protect pedophiles. So how can you have the moral high ground on anybody? right? Not to say that things don't happen in other places, because they absolutely do. This is not like something that's indicative of only uh, a culture, a disgusting culture here in America. So I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, I thought that we were all on the side of justice. But when you see people that don't want to vote to have a vote on the Epstein files being released, when there's 400 people in the House, that's an issue. That's what's the word? That highlights that there's a system that helps perpetuate this violence against women, right? When you have people that are so that reject so adamantly against getting the files released. 217 people signed and said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and have a vote. We'll release this stuff. Then they waited for however long for Adelita Grijalva, the representative over in Arizona, for her to be sworn in. What does it say about us as a country when we can't get 218 votes out of 435 to say, yes, we need to release these files? And now, like Marjorie Taylor Greene has said, like Thomas Massie has said, when people have to go on record and show that they either voted yay or nay on this, of course they're going to vote to release them. Most people that are reasonable, right? There was a gentleman earlier on here that said he wasn't going to be doing that at all. But most people are going to vote yes. But where was that vote of confidence for releasing them prior to now? Prior to your name being on a public ledger? Why did it take you being exposed to the American public as a child abuser protector for you to finally vote yes? And we still don't know how many people are going to vote yay or nay because the vote hasn't happened yet. But it does say something about us as a society and an underlying disgusting culture when we have to twist people's arms in order to get to vote affirmatively to release this stuff. So these are some of the victims' names here. I'm not sure how many of these women were up on Capitol Hill a couple months ago, but they did say that if a name list wasn't released, that they do their own, right? So here is Donald Trump lashing out at Marjorie Taylor Greene for being on the right side of justice. It says Marjorie Trader Greene is a disgrace to the great Republican Party. Yeah, because what they expect is compliance. They don't expect you to do the right thing. They expect you to do the thing that they want you to do. And this is a problem across the board. Like, this is just indicative of human nature, right? People agree with you when you're doing the thing that they want you to do. They agree with you. They say that you have free speech when you're saying the things that they want you to say. And then when you're not, then they start talking about how you need to be canceled or censored or you're a traitor. The loyalty is not to Donald Trump. It's to the American people. It's to the people that elected her to be in the House, to represent them. And I would venture to say an overwhelming majority of those people want those files released. They want to know what's going on, because if they did vote for Trump, that's one of the things that he said in his administration, the people around him said was important to them was transparency. So interesting times, man. I got to tell you. Let's see. It says, okay, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene. So she's been tweeting like a mad lady, right, over the past couple of days. It says, I am now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world, the man I supported and helped to elect. Aggressive rhetoric attacking me has historically led to death threats and multiple convictions of men who were radicalized by the same rhetoric being directed at me right now. This time by the President of the United States. What's sad and also ironic about this is who people have always known Donald Trump to be: a petty guy, a vindictive guy, like a very sassy Like he acts like a woman, right? Because if I have somebody in my life that is not agreeing, if we don't agree on values, I just don't associate with that person, right? Donald Trump is going so far as to use his power as the president to lean on people, whether it be like James Comey and Letitia James trying to get them indicted. John Bolton, right? That guy, apparently his situation is a little different, so I'm not going to speak directly on him. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, he's like, either you go along to get along or you better lay down because I'm going to steamroll over you. This is who we know Trump to be. And people want to pretend like, oh, he's so powerful. He's so, they want to project it as like he's a beacon of masculinity. But really, I think he's a bitch. I think it's like some bitch made stuff that Trump does a lot of times. Like he's very sensitive, as much as they call the liberal people snowflakes, and they are, right? There are a lot of liberals that are snowflakes. Like everything hurts your feelings. You can't make jokes. You can't like, everybody is an equal opportunity target in comedy, right? But the left, they are absolutely snowflakes, but so are people on the right. So is Donald Trump. And you can't have somebody that's so petty and vindictive be the president. But he is. He's here. And people have voted for him, pretending that his pettiness is a sign of strength when it has never been. And one of the people that fell for it is Marjorie Taylor Greene, because he was the useful idiot that was pushing the policies that aligned with things that she thought. So people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Steve Bannon and Elon Musk, they looked at Trump as saying, okay, he's not that intelligent, but he's useful. So they tried to use him. And turns out that it works well until he fires that water hose back on you, right? And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene is seeing. That's what Thomas Massey is seeing, right? Thomas Massey has already been experiencing a bunch of ads as people try to get him the fuck up out of there, right? So these people that voted for Trump, that campaigned for Trump, or like advocated for him, they're seeing that, okay, maybe this guy isn't exactly what I thought he was. Maybe he is the things that other people warn me against. So, you know, as much as I like the stuff that she's saying now, you have to sleep in the bed that you made. Now, in terms of the threats, I thought that all the political violence came from the left. That's what they told us after Charlie Kirk's assassination. They said political violence came from the left, which was obviously a lie, right? But that is the narrative that they were trying to push. Now, Donald Trump it says aggressive rhetoric attacking me that has historically led to death threats. I'm not entirely sure what death threat she's talking about she historically got. But she's saying that the type of rhetoric that the president of the United States, the most powerful person in this entire country, the rhetoric that he's using is echoing some of the rhetoric that led to death threats for her. Right? They said that the language that the left used around people like Charlie Kirk is what led to his death. And then you have the president echoing that very same rhetoric and turning that on Marjorie Taylor Greene. So hopefully nothing happens to her. You know, not just because I like what she's saying now, but like nobody deserves to be brutalized, whether it be the situation that happened to Charlie Kirk, whether it be the situation with Marjorie Taylor Greene. We are supposed to live in a civil, law-abiding society. And when you can't abide by that law, we have a place for you most times, unless you're a friend of Donald Trump's, then he'll help you get released. But anyway, I hope that nothing happens to her, right? This is ridiculous. In order for these files not to come out, this lady may end up getting death threats based on the president, our president. It's crazy, man. We live in an interesting time. It says Donald Trump has turned his back on Marjorie Taylor Greene for putting America first. I support Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene. So let me see who this lady is. I want to see how many. She has 111,000 subscribers, followers over on YouTube. So we've seen that there's been a rift between MAGA and the Republican Party, right? MAGA is Trump's cult. The Republican Party is an entirely different entity that was co-opted by MAGA in order to get Trump elected, right? And what I'm interested to see in the future is what is the aftermath of MAGA? Because it's obviously it's it's nosediving, right? It's going to crash. It's going to crash far before 2028. And it's because of those policies that we talked about kind of in the beginning, the fake $2,000 stimulus, the 50-year mortgage, the heavy-handed ICE raids, the deploying the National Guard into all of these cities, right? Wasting taxpayer money. You guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but I was in the DC Guard for quite a bit of time. I was in the military for 12 years. I was in the DC Guard that got the same. Some of the people that were out on the streets of DC, I know those people very, very well, right? I got out a couple of years ago, but I know those people very well. And what they were doing out there, which was reported in the news, right? It's not like I'm going having conversations with the people that I knew in order to get inside information. That would be, in my opinion, unethical and wrong. But it was shown in the news that they started doing area beautification. You said that there was rampant crime in these cities, but then you have people in the nation's capital, the testing ground for your policy, that were doing area beautification, which is cleaning up parks, picking. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't need to happen, but why are we spending so much money on the military doing it? So again, $2,000 fake stimulus tariff check, 50-year mortgage, area beautification because he's ramping up all of the National Guard going into the cities, the overhanded or the heavy-handed ICE raids, the statement he just made about H-1B visas, the $100,000 fee that he said was going to be for H-1B visas, the 600,000 Chinese students that he said that we need to keep open our schools and universities, the $1 million Trump card. Like, it's interesting to see, and this is why it's interesting to see where this is going to go. But all of these different things that have stacked up over the past 10 months, these are the reasons why people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are breaking the ranks with Donald Trump, because you ran on a certain set of principles and values, and then you're not implementing them at all or in the way that people want you to implement them. And that becomes a huge problem. That ends up becoming a huge problem for the people that voted for you, because it's like, hey, like I said, you're a useful idiot. You are there to push their agenda, which also aligns with your agenda. When you guys can meet, business can be done, right? So now that you're not pushing the agenda that they want you to push, they're like, okay, we need to find a new horse to bet on. And it's not going to be Donald Trump anymore. The dude's getting older. He's senile. He's petty. And he's not the America First person that he purported himself to be, right? That's why Nick Fuentes left Donald Trump. That's why Marjorie Taylor Greene is leaving Donald Trump. And on Twitter, you increasingly see large pages not only say that Trump is not America First anymore, or maybe he never was, but they're like, okay, where do we go next? That power has to go to somebody. Somebody has to lead the party. And now that people are turning away from Trump, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. Does it become a new faction of like this far right America First movement that has been going on, that has led to like the civil war between Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Ben Shapiro? I think the guy's name is Mark something. I don't know his name. I'm not incredibly informed on that issue, but like, as this rift happens, where are we going to end up? Where's the Republican Party going to end up? It's all interesting to me. You guys can let me know if it's interesting to you down in the chat. Let's move on to the rest of this stuff. I want to see if we can get some of these Epstein files that were actually released, some of these emails. Okay. Okay, this is where he said that he was going to be withdrawing his support for her, basically saying that she's a liberal and all of this stuff. It says, I'm withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman, quote unquote, Marjorie Taylor Greene of the great state of Georgia. Over the past few weeks, despite my creating record achievements for our country, including a total and complete victory on the shutdown, Democrats really failed the American public on this shutdown thing. I think that they are pussies, if I'm being completely honest with you. And I've always heard that, Democrats, their way of doing business is just to roll over. And that's what they did, right? They did all of that fighting, went back to the corner in between rounds and retired in the corner. So that was disgusting. It says total and complete victory on the shutdown, closed borders, low taxes. I'm not sure about this. I've heard that the border, not a lot of people are coming across the border. I'm not sure about the low taxes, right? I guess I'll find out what types of things we, you know, I overpay on my taxes, so I always get some money back. So we'll see how that goes. It says no men and women's sports are transgender for everyone. I know that this is like an issue, and it's an issue for me as well. Like I have kids, I have a son and a daughter, and I in no way want my daughter to be competing against uh boys at any level, right? That may be controversial to some people. I don't know like what the mix on my channel is in terms of the demographic and ideology, but I'm going to tell you I don't want it for my kids, so I'm not going to say I want it for anybody else's kid, right? People can disagree, they can agree, but that's where I stand. And then DEI, which I think DEI is obviously a mistake. Um, to me, DEI is like it's like admitting that you can't achieve things on your own merit. I understand what the intent is, but it's my opinion. Being black, being in a field uh, that most of my counterparts end up being white, I think that having like this quota is saying like, oh, I'm an underachiever. I need a handout. So like I said, it may be controversial to some. That's where I stand on that. It says stopping Biden's record-setting inflation. Right, I think they said it was like 9%. Biggest regulation cuts in history, which are not always good. Stopping 8 wars, rebuild. So basically, he's listing all of his achievements, or whether they be true or not true. And he's saying Marjorie Taylor Greene turned her back on me instead of going out and bolstering the things that I have achieved. She's talking about these Epstein files. And Trump is delusional. Trump is absolutely delusional because Marjorie Taylor Greene, even when she was on The View, they asked her, I think it was the Sunny Holston, I think her name is. She asked Marjorie Taylor Greene, are you a liberal now? Marjorie Taylor Greene said, no, I'm not. There's nothing about me that's Democrat or liberal. I'm 100% a conservative, and I'm standing on my conservative values. But I'm speaking very plainly, and I'm giving the facts. She was talking about the Affordable Care Act. There's no replacement, right? She was talking about these Epstein files. She's talking about the shutdown. So Donald Trump is like, why aren't you championing the things that I am achieving so that we can pretend like there's nothing going on in the background? And she has. It's not that she hasn't been doing that. It's that you're highlighting the thing that you don't want her to talk about, which it was already a big issue, but you're making it more of an issue, bringing more spotlight to it. And like I said, Donald Trump, he's petty, he's sassy, and he's feeling a type of way about it. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, she responds. She says, President Trump just attacked me and lied about it. I haven't called him at all. So part of that was him saying that she was mad because he wasn't picking up her phone calls, and she's the crazy cat lady, and she calls him all day. Right? I don't think I addressed that anywhere, but that was part of what was going on there. It says President Trump attacked me and lied about me. I haven't called him at all, but I sent these texts today. Apparently, this is what sent him over the edge, the Epstein files. And of course, he's coming after me hard to make an example and scare all other Republicans, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, she's saying like, oh, he's trying to scare us into not voting affirmatively to release the files. Like I said, people's names are going to be on a ledger saying that you voted affirmatively or you voted against it, and they don't necessarily want that smoke. Understandably, that's a lot of that reflects negatively on you as a person. So it makes sense why people would not get to an official vote and then say no when the public can see who it is. The person that posted this just reiterated and exacerbated like what we've been talking about Donald Trump losing his supporters. It says Trump unendorses Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's 32,000 likes. And her response is 179,000 likes. A significant portion. We're used to Trump ratioing people, right? We're used to Trump having so much power, so much cachet with the public, with his base, that like anything that you say against him is you're a hater or you have Trump derangement syndrome, which some people absolutely do. People do have Trump derangement syndrome 100%. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. But Trump, he gets ratioed in an unprecedented way. Like people really love this dude. He has a cult following and they're leaving the cult en masse. It's crazy. Now, the Trump derangement syndrome, let me talk about this real quick. I think that Trump, he does get a lot of justified negative publicity, right? Because he's older, he's senile, he's sassy, he makes a lot of gaffes. He says things that are offensive. So people do have a justified negative commentary around him. And I think that people also just don't like him, so they find fault in everything that he does as well. He was recently at the Commanders game, right? Where during the government shutdown, he was at the Commanders game. He ended up getting booed, right? That was the night that the Senate voted to reopen the government. They got their 60 votes, right? When that happened, he was swearing some people in. I'm gonna just tell you about the post. There was a post of him saying, "I state your name" to a crowd, right? And people were like, did he just say, "I state your name"? Oh, this dude is retarded, blah, blah, blah. Which he might be, right? I don't know. Whatever Trump got going on, whether he is or is not important. But these people are so deranged that they didn't even realize the context was he was swearing in service members. When you're being sworn in, right, it literally says, you're reading out to the person, it says to instruct them to say, "I state your name." So like this is the Trump derangement syndrome that people are referring to, where they find fault in everything that he does, but he does have legitimate criticism because he does do legitimately stupid shit as well. So I don't even know why I went off on that tangent, but dude is losing his base. He's losing his mind. And then you have people like Cat Turd. It says, after months of attacking Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene is now comparing herself to the victims who were taken advantage of on Epstein Island because he called her out. This is a seriously sick individual. I think there was a picture of, I think that they said this was one of the people that got the binders about the Epstein files. Obviously, to me, she is a untrustworthy source. Not saying that everything that she says is negative, is wrong or whatever, right? Like I'm not that familiar with her. I just know that she's on the right. But this person is obviously super invested and looks at Trump as still her cult leader for whatever reason. So any time that Trump is going to be, I think she got one of those Pentagon press badges as well. Anytime that Trump is going to be criticized, including by Marjorie Taylor Greene, she has to run defense for Trump. She has to run cover for Trump. And that's what's going on here. So I've seen a couple of tweets from Cat Turd about this situation with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump. And it's mostly like, are you going to address the fact that he's in the Epstein files? Like, is that ever going to be a priority to you? Or are you just going to like steamroll over that in order to defend him with everything, right? So I want to check out some of her tweets since we're here anyway. Yep, there you go. Here goes the slander. Here goes the propaganda machine on the right in order to deflect from the thing that's going on, which, like we said from the beginning, is the Epstein files. I really want to see some of those. Let me see if I can find. I'm going to clear all my. I use Twitter a lot to try to search for like the clips and stuff that I've been looking for. So I cleared my history so you guys don't get a peek into the process. But that's what I do. If I'm looking for a clip, I try to find it on Twitter because YouTube doesn't like you taking clips off of their platform. But I want to see if I can look at some of these emails. Epstein emails. It says someone created a searchable database of the Epstein emails that were released by the Epstein estate. Click here. Again, this is the entire reason Trump is falling out with Marjorie Taylor Greene, why Thomas Massey had to force a vote, because they told us that there was nothing in the Epstein files, there was nothing to see, and then it turns out that there is something to see, right? Let me take this sweater off. Give me 1 second. If you guys didn't know, I have a bald head. I know I wear the hats a lot, but I shaved my hair last year, so I'm bald now. And I don't know how many people on the channel knew that, but that's where I'm at. All right, so let's check this one out. So this is the one where Trump was potentially outed as being gay, right? So it says, you mean Donnie T, and I thought, basically, this is the highlight. Let's just read the highlight. It says, ask him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. Is this why Donald Trump doesn't want these files to come out? Is it because now they've already said that Donald Trump isn't implicated in any of Virginia Giuffre said that Donald Trump was nice to her. She never did anything, right? And then this email comes out that's basically saying that Trump is blowing somebody, right? Wild. Never thought that I would see that. But is this what Trump is worried about in the Epstein files? Is it like him being outed or something? Then the picture comes out of him grabbing Bill Clinton's junk, right? Like, what's going on here? I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, but this is in the Epstein files that was released, right? This clickable database. Let's try to find, somebody says this is fake. I don't know what they're basing that on, right? It could be fake. We have AI. AI can literally make it look like somebody is doing a crime in a video. So emails can be doctored, but where's the evidence that this is fake? Where's the evidence that is real? It was evidently or supposedly released by the Trump estate, the Epstein estate. Who knows? It said this is one of the original ones that came out that really started talking this up again. This is Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. It says, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. The victim, who they're saying this is blacked out, but they're saying it was Virginia Giuffre, spent hours with him in my house. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. So what's going on here? Trump, they said he's mentioned like 1,600 times in this batch of 20,000 emails that was released. I thought somebody was going to interact with me in the chat. Nobody threw nothing in the chat. But anyway, this, like, Trump is repeatedly mentioned. They said 1,600 times out of these 20,000 pieces of documents. That's a lot, right? Even if Donald Trump is not implicated in a way, like Jeffrey Epstein clearly has an obsession with Donald Trump. They had a friendship. It seems they had a friendship long after Donald Trump said he cut him off, right? It's just, this entire thing is sick. It says something Mar-a-Lago. Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member, ever. Of course he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. Trump said that he cut, this happened in 2019, right? A couple of months before Jeffrey Epstein died. Actually, there's something I want to get to. Let me see if there's what this other email is. Okay, so this is the one where Michael Wolff, I believe he is a newscaster or something. It says, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. If we were able to craft an answer against him, what do you think it should be? It says, I think we should let him hang himself, which people are saying that's mighty ironic, right? If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a good guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. Let me address this last point first. He got a raw deal, is a victim of political correctness. This is a gentleman that was accused of assaulting who he's accused of assaulting. You're not for Michael Wolff to say, oh, you're just a victim of political correctness. Boy, we really have a system that a fucked up system in this place, man. Jesus Christ. I'm going to end it in a second. I'm going to end the stream in a second, but this is what I wanted to talk about. The last thing I wanted to talk about. This came out in 2019. This came out in 2015. This other email where they start talking, the email I just showed, where they're talking about any dirt they may have on Trump that they could leverage, right? What happened after that? When you know you had the dirt on him, you don't get arrested for another 4 years. And then after you get arrested, you end up passing away. Could there be, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, I'm just trying to line up these things. You say that you can have leverage on him if he wins the presidency. He does win the presidency. And then in 2019, you're once again talking about information regarding this situation with Trump and saying he knew about the girls, right? That looks negatively on Trump. He's in his administration, most powerful person in the world. Then Jeffrey Epstein ends up passing away. How does that happen? We've already talked about Pam Bondi, the missing minute, the 3 minutes, then no minutes were missing. Like, it's very, very suspicious to me. It's very suspicious to everybody. Was Trump in the files, and as you know, the thing that they say he did with Bill Clinton and he doesn't want it exposed, was he in the files because he was involved with the stuff with Ghislaine and Jeffrey? It doesn't seem that way so far, but he is doing a lot of stuff to cover it up. It doesn't reflect good on him. It's the reason it's an additional reason why he's losing a lot of his base, and it's spiraling out of control. Donald Trump is not going to be able to recapture all those people that he lost. No matter how hard him and JD Vance own the libs, no matter if he gives people a $2,000 tariff check, no matter if he throws out all the illegal immigrants and some other immigrants that they agree with being thrown out, like, it's gone too far. He's not going to be able to reel it back in. It just is what it is. So, we've been on for about 1 hour and 10 minutes. You guys can let me know what you think. You guys can give me, if you want to, give me some feedback on the live stream, right? I don't do this very often. This is my 3rd time doing it. But yeah, let me know what you think. I think Trump has dug himself a hole that he will never be able to dig himself out of. It's reflecting badly on the entire Republican Party because essentially they're his lackeys, right? The MAGA movement absorbed the Republican Party. The Republican Party did not absorb the MAGA movement. But now people are realizing that they're two different things and they're choosing their sides. They're choosing their sides. We'll see how it goes in the future, but they had what they called the blue wave on November 4th, where Republicans got washed. So that's where we are today. Until next time, I appreciate you guys, the 5 viewers that I had, and I'll catch you on the next one, whether it be a video or a live stream.